The other night, my wife and I were coasting down a long, gentle hill, and she was passing by me like I had the brakes on. So I think it's time for an alignment again. It does change with age. Those little components wear. I keep them greased, but it's got almost 6,000 miles on it now. So we switched. I rode her trike and she was on mine, so that it wasn't a factor of the weight. And my trike still was lagging behind. So we're going to do an alignment here, and you'll see how much difference it makes just a quarter turn on that tie rod. So we'll get started here. Before you start this test, make sure that the brakes are not dragging and the wheel is free to turn. You shouldn't hear the brakes dragging. If they are, you got to work on that first before you can align it. I'll show you an easy way to align the front wheels on the Sunseeker Fat Tad. If they're straight, you get many, many miles out of a set of tires. They won't be scuffing so bad. In the winter, I do it on the lake where the ice is really smooth and squeaky cold. And then you can tell right when the wheels are straight forward. If they're pitched in or out a little bit, they leave a little squeak on the surface as you're pushing the trike. Make sure you're sitting on the seat. The shock system has to be loaded because it does change how the wheels toe in with the load on it. So make sure the person riding the trike is sitting on the seat for this adjustment. Now the first thing I do to substitute for the winter ice is to put it in the garage, and I spray the floor with a little water, and it slopes real gentle, and you'll be able to coast down about 15 feet without pushing anything on the pedals. It'll just start going with gravity. And then at the end of the run here, there's a little threshold on the garage door. You could put down a little board or something so that you run over it. And it's kind of a ramp that's a half-inch high in the middle. And that shows you how much energy you have when you get to the end of the run. And as it's coasting, it's either going to gain, or if they're not aligned properly, it's not even going to coast. It'll slow down. And that's how you know if you got it straight. And then from there, you could tow it in a degree or two if you want, but that's really not necessary on this trike. When I did this adjustment a couple years ago for the first time, the little rod, the tubing under there that is adjusted, which is, I call it a tie rod, I don't know what they call it, but it's right here, and it has a 12 millimeter nut on the end that locks it, and this tube turns, and on one end it's turning clockwise and the clockwise on the other way, and the threads have to be clean and greased so it adjusts easily. You can see it moving there, and the wheels are going in and out. Well, it wouldn't go all the way far enough. The tube was too long, so I had to grind a little bit off the threads right here so that I could get another turn. And it's really, there's a sweet spot there that it has to be properly aligned. They had it so that it was towing in too much from the factory, and the tires were really scuffing. And I hear the stories that the tires don't get any miles on them. These have got over, I know it's getting to be 3,000 miles on the tires. And they're the real skinny, thin V tire, what do they call it? Fatty Slims? Fatty Slicks. Fatty Slick by V Tire. And they're still really good. So I'm going to start out here. We're going to screw the rod out a little bit, and I'm going to put this so you can see the distance there. If it focuses. There. That is turning now, and you'll see the nut is moving away. So I'm turning it forward, referring to the top of the bar. I'm going to turn it forward, and you can see the wheels are splitting apart here at the rear. So we're going to see how it coasts in that position. Okay, I'm going to hop on there and see what it does. All right. So you get on and you use the same reference every time. I'm about 2 feet back of this crack in the floor. I'm going to get on and see if it'll move. It's starting to move. Real slow. All right. See, it didn't get very far. All right. Now, what I'm going to do, so things are always the same. I'm going to go up to the line here, and I'm going to screw her in a turn. We're tied again now. I'm pointing the wheels more outward. And I always go on the same track, keep it wet. I hear my shoes are squeaking. I'm going to go back and see if it'll coast again. Put your feet on and just don't push off. Start from a dead stop. Now you can see how it's accelerating a little faster. Blam! It made it to the rim, to the ridge, but it didn't go over it. All right, I'm going to put her back in again, another turn in. Try her again. Back you go. And just sit here. Everything's the same. I'm sitting where I normally ride. Look at how fast it's accelerating now. And it goes right over. Lots of energy. It's much more rolling resistance is eliminated. I'm going to go a little more. I'm going to go another turn there. Okay, I am all the way tight now. And if I want to go more, I'm going to have to grind more off the rod. But I think I'm past the sweet spot. There we go. All right. Now, sit down here, and I don't think it'll go as fast. We'll try it. No, see, it's not going as fast. It barely made it over. So I am going to go back and spread them like this. I'm going to pitch them in about that one turn back again where it was. Let's try that. Trying to get back in the same track, make everything fair. Because the floor, it's kind of a crappy job on the floor, but it works. Okay, we'll sit in here and see how she goes. Here it comes. Right up and over. Lots of velocity at the end. If you're satisfied with your results, you snug up the 12 millimeter nut against the rod. Hold that shaft from turning and snug this up. Not too bad. Just do one snug on one side, and then the other will hold better. And then on the other side, the threads are reversed. So whichever way you turn the other one, this is the opposite. You would think now that I would turn this clockwise, but that's backwards. So you got to go like this. It's almost like you got to think backwards a little bit. Now, hold that rod again. Very good, and it's kind of butting up against the other one, and they're both locking together. I'm going to just snug the other side once more. When you're done snugging up the nuts, the link should be straight on both sides. It should hit the top on both sides at the same time when the steering is straight. And then you shift it down, it should be down both sides. That ball joint has to be able to move in all directions as you're steering. So that's floating on there. That rod is floating. Now I've been through that troubles that you have on these bikes with the wobble of death. When you take your hands off and you're going fast down a hill, the steering starts to shake. Sometimes it really goes crazy. And it varies by your toe end adjustment and the type of tires, how much pressure's in them. It all changes the frequency and at what speed it happens. So to eliminate that, I built a steering dampener. It's off of a motorcycle type of thing here. And it has centering springs on it so that when you take your hands off the steering, that just steers straight instead of whipping you in the ditch like they do sometimes. So if you're having trouble with the wheels wobbling, shaking, that's another problem. You might have to adjust that toe in a little bit different. Lose efficiency but gain stability. And you can experiment. Just go a quarter turn at a time. Don't go too much. Make sure you snug everything up when you're done. And when the tires, when you're on really smooth surface, they shouldn't make any scuffing noise. They should be really quiet. You can hear it when they're rubbing. I've seen out there where people are only getting 200 miles on their front tires. That's wrong. They're just erasing them on the pavement. So I hope this helped you. And it's easy to do, actually. And there's one last bonus after you get done with your work. The garage floor is nice and moist, and you take the squeegee and you squeegee it out. And the garage floor is clean again for you. Thanks for watching.